President Biden is suspending oil and gas drilling leases in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. 2 weeks before Mr. Biden's inauguration, the Trump administration issued decade-long leases on 430,000 acres of refuge land. The area is home to hundreds of thousands of migrating polar bears, waterfowl, and caribou. Because of climate change, it's warming twice as fast as any other region on Earth. The temporary ban is a move that fits into the president's public promises to cut fossil fuel pollution to limit global warming. But behind the scenes, the story is more complicated. The New York Times reports that despite President Biden's climate pledges, his administration is quietly taking actions that will guarantee the drilling and burning of oil and gas for decades to come. Lisa Friedman is the reporter behind that story. She writes for the New York Times Climate Desk. Lisa, welcome to Red and Blue. Thanks so much for joining us. So what exactly is the Biden administration doing here, and what course are they charting for fossil fuel use in the U.S.?
Thanks. That's a great question, and I think the course is a tricky one. Earlier this week, President Biden took an enormous step in suspending lease sales in ANWR, the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. This was a signature project, an effort under the Trump administration to generate oil and gas leasing and oil and gas development in one of the most pristine wilderness areas in the nation. It was hotly contested for decades on both sides of the aisle before Republicans passed the 2017 tax bill that included this measure, and blocking it was something that was really high on the agenda for environmental groups, was really high on the agenda for President Biden, and was a really important message that he sent to the environmental community. At the same time, he's taking quieter steps behind the scenes that have really concerned the environmental community on oil and gas. In at least 3 instances recently, the administration either failed to block or, in fact, supported oil and gas projects, leases in Wyoming, a major oil and gas project separately in Alaska, and the Dakota pipeline that really have concerned environmental groups.
Right. In fact, you report how on his first day in office, President Biden paused all new oil and gas leases on federal lands, and waters, rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement, and nixed that controversial Keystone XL pipeline. Yet his administration, as you noted, has also pursued things which seem to be odd with those policies, like allowing another pipeline. So how has the Biden administration justified those actions? Because, it's been really interesting to note the opposition here from environmental groups and also indigenous populations, which look at this land as sacred land.
Absolutely. I mean, the Biden administration itself isn't giving answers. I've reached out to the White House, the Justice Department, the Interior Department to help explain how these decisions that they've made on various projects dovetail with their climate policies and how they align with President Biden's otherwise very ambitious efforts to not just suspend oil and gas leasing, but to aiming to cut U.S. emissions 50 to 52% below 2005 levels by 2035. By 2030. That's an enormous effort. That's going to mean that there is going to have to be a reduction in fossil fuel development. And it's been pretty hard to get answers from the administration. They are preferring to focus on their messages around how climate change is going to produce jobs. And to that I point to their effort around offshore wind, and some of the big actions that they're taking. And they are taking big actions. They're not explaining how these align, how these other actions align. I think it's clear, though, that part of this is somewhat underscoring how difficult a lot of these decisions are that President Biden will have to take, whether for reasons of politics or pragmatism or legal requirements. Some of these oil and gas projects are going to go forward, and they're trying to balance that against the promises they've made to dramatically reduce U.S. emissions.
So let me ask you a bit more about that, Lisa, because on topics from the pandemic to climate change, as you know, President Biden often talks about letting his administration be guided by science. How much is political reality driving these decisions?
Well, political reality is part of all of the decisions, particularly when you have a Congress where Democrats have the smallest margin of majority in history. At every step, whether it's in the infrastructure package and whether President Biden will be able to include a lot of his very aggressive climate measures or a plan to reduce emissions in the power sector, perhaps with a clean electricity standard, is going to have to be balanced against a Senate Democratic majority that hangs in the balance of a lawmaker from West Virginia, Senator Manchin, who, of course, cares very deeply about his coal-dependent state and the industry there. Any deals he makes with Republicans, someone like Senator Murkowski, of Alaska, who is a moderate Republican who has been known to work with Democrats on a number of issues on climate change and others before, is going to be critical. And so, I think you're seeing the administration really think about where it can help align some votes and where to have to dig in its heels on issues that it says it cares about, like climate change.
So in our final minutes, I want to ask you about this. One of the projects the Biden administration defended in court is a multi-billion-dollar plan from ConocoPhillips to drill for oil in Alaska until 2050 in what you call a paradox worthy of Kafka. The company wants to install chillers into the permafrost, which is thawing quickly because of climate change, to keep it solid enough to drill for oil, the burning of which will continue to worsen ice melt. Lisa, what sort of impact does this have?
Well, the extraction causes its own problems, but it's really the burning of the fossil fuels that causes global warming, right? And that is why you are seeing a real effort in the environmental community to force companies and governments to keep it in the ground. And that is something that's going to be very difficult for the Biden administration to manage. It's going to be playing out throughout his administration, and again, in a Senate as closely divided as we have, and a House with also thin margins, most energy analysts say that there are going to be a lot of trade-offs as this administration moves forward.
Something we'll continue to watch. Lisa Friedman of the New York Times. Lisa, thank you very much.
Thank you.